What's up guys, Alex from FIFA Scouting Tips here, and welcome to episode 2 of my 1860 Munich career mode. Now in the first episode, if you saw that one, we simmed through the first season, scouted a load of players, sold a load of players, saw how we did in that one, just to basically get through it and develop those players and set ourselves up for the next season or two. So now in episode 2, we're ready to start the second season. So before we do anything, let's take a look at what the board wants from us, because we've got new objectives. So as before, we have a critical youth development objective. Now one of these has already been completed. Sign 2 players in your youth academy assigned to the defender position. I'm not honestly sure why it's saying that, because we haven't sent any scouts out, we haven't had any reports this season yet. Must have carried over from last season. But we have a new one, which is to sign 4 youth players to the senior team in the same season they were scouted. Play them in 20 matches, either as part of the starting 11 or coming on as a sub, so that's pretty demanding. 4 of them in 20 matches, so basically half the season. So we're going to have to get started on that pretty early, so we give them a chance to get through all those 20 matches. We also have the long-term goal, within 3 seasons, grow 8 youth academy players by at least 10 overall points. As soon as they have grown, play them in 20 matches, either as start at the starting 11 or coming on as a sub. Now if we do that, short-term goal above, we'll be halfway there with that one. We've done 4 players, so if we can get a few more in the next season as well, we should easily be able to do that long-term goal. Now brand exposure is high this year. Sign 1 crucial first team player assigned to a midfielder or forward position. Now one of the goals for this career mode is to not sign any real players, so we're going to have to look out for regens, scouted players on other teams, that sort of thing. I can sign that type of player. So we'll have to see how that goes. We might end up failing that one, we'll have to see how it goes. Continental success is very low, so we haven't got any objectives. Domestic success is critical, as well as the youth development one. So one of the goals, fight for promotion. Well, we did that last season, we almost won the division, so that should be fairly achievable this year. And in the cup, reach the round of 32. Now in the long term, we need to, within 3 seasons, win the division. Now I reckon that's pretty plausible. Last season when we simmed through it, we basically almost got promoted, we almost won the league, so I think that should be achievable. And finally, we don't have anything for the financial objectives. It's very low, so we don't have to worry about that this season. Now, in the first episode I asked you guys to come up with some potential forfeits for if I don't achieve goals throughout the career modes, and I got some really good suggestions. They're actually pretty horrible. I think some people like punishing me. We have sign a 34-year-old player and play him in every game that season. Now, if you've played FIFA at all, you know that as soon as players get into their 30s, they start declining rapidly. So this player, if we had to play him every game of the season, it's going to be a bit of a dead weight. He's going to be declining pretty quickly. Another potential forfeit, have to sign the worst player on every scout report and discard the best one. Seeing as this is a youth career mode, that's going to be have pretty big impact, I think. Now, I'll go through the players in a minute, but a couple of players I've got, they have the same last name. So one of these suggestions is break up the families, players of the same last name, if I don't score a certain amount of goals from a youth player. So unfortunately we might have to be breaking up some of these families. We'll see if they can cope with that. Another forfeit, at the end of every season, if you finish the relegation places, you have to sell your 2 highest rated players no matter what price another club offers. Play players out of position, such as a striker at centre back or vice versa. And finally, use the loan glitch to lower your top player's potential. Now if you don't know what the loan glitch is, it's basically if you loan a player out and then recall them, their potential can change. You can tell this by looking at the player's value, often that changes. So basically the idea of this is to ruin my best player. So these are some pretty good forfeits. Now what I need next is to know what our goals should be, like what the goals are that these forfeits apply to. So do they apply to these targets here? If we don't achieve these goals, do we have to do those forfeits, or should we do something else? Like, should we set our own ones, like scoring a certain amount of goals, finishing in a certain position, keeping a certain number of clean sheets, that sort of thing? Let me know in the comments what you think we should do for that, and I'll knock something together once I've got enough suggestions. So before we do anything else, let's take a look at our squad at the start of the second season. Now I've changed the formation slightly to make use of more of our best players. We've promoted a few youth players into the starting lineup. This guy here, Neumann, rated 63 at 16 years old. That's a pretty good rating already. Got some decent stats as well. Also some physical stats which are pretty good, which is nice to see. We also have Gruner, 66 rated, 18 years old. I think if I remember correctly, this guy has potential to be special, so he's going to be incredible as he gets older. 77 marking, already a really good stat. And then in goal we have Bauer, 17 years old, rated 62. So already we have a couple of youth players who are good enough to get into the starting lineup. We also have a few on the subs bench and in the reserves who hopefully will be growing plenty this season. Now what I'm going to be doing is selling some of the deadweight, selling some of these real players to make up space for my youth players, and also loaning out some of the youth players to get them some game time. Okay, so we have our invitation to the pre-season tournament. I'm going to accept this because it's a good way to make a little bit extra money for the transfer budget. Now usually what you should do is basically go for the one with the highest prize money. In this case it's actually the European International Cup, which is also apparently the easiest. It's got the lowest difficulty, so that's a bit of a no-brainer. Let's accept that one and take part. Now once that's gone through, the next thing we want to do is send off some scouts and look for some youth players. Now we already have one scout from last season, so we shall, let's send him, he's Austrian, let's send him to Austria. I said before I want to keep this as realistic as I can, so I'm not going to be scouting Brazil, Argentina, countries like that which 1860 Munich wouldn't be scouting. So we're going to send him to Austria. Gonna send him out for 6 months and gonna send him looking for some physically strong players, because what we need, we're lacking in good youth fullbacks, and physically strong is one of the only ways you can find fullbacks in FIFA. Now as well as that, it also gets you really good players. Some physically strong players are some of the best types you can get, so we'll send him out there for physically strong, see what he comes back with. As well as that, we have enough money for a second scout, so there's not really much choice here. Let's go for this guy. 4 stars experience, 5-star judgment, pretty decent scout there, almost as good as you can get. Now we're going to send him to Germany because he is German, so that makes sense, and we'll send him up for 6 months as well. Now let's have a look at what we've got here. So we've got quite a lot of central midfielders, we've got plenty of goalkeepers, we haven't really got any attackers, but now if you search for attackers, it only really comes back with wingers or attacking midfielders. You don't get any strikers. Now I want some strikers, we haven't really got very many of those. Now often the best way to do that is either to search for winger, which gets you basically, as the name suggests, wingers who are positioned as a striker, so they're not the best, or you can get physically strong. So again, I think we're going to search for physically strong. You'll see why when we get the reports back, they are most definitely the best type of player you can get. So we'll send them out, and in a month we'll see what these scouts come back with for us. Okay, advanced for a couple of days, got some transfer offers in here. One for Marius Welsh, who's one of the real players who I want to get rid of, so we will straight away accept that offer. And one for Gruner, who is one of our most promising young players who I definitely do not want to get rid of, so we're going to reject that one. So that's those sorted. Now as well as that, we have this message here about a transfer budget increase. Now if you played in previous versions, you'd find that you get to the end of the season, you saved your money up, and the next season that wouldn't carry over. And that's been fixed, so now we have £5.2 million because the budget has been increased by £3 million. So it's nice, it means that you don't have to spend all of your budget by the end of the year or risk losing it, so that's good to see. Now we've received a loan offer for Leonard Wolf, one of our youth players. Now what sometimes happens is when you go to loan a player out, they constantly reject it, but there is a way to fix that. So basically what you do is you accept the offer when it comes in, you then go into your squad hub when we get to that, go to your squad hub, find the player in question, and then you select him, do remove from loan list, then add to transfer list, and for some reason this ends up making him accept the offer. It's pretty much about 90% of the time he will accept it, as opposed to always rejecting it if you don't do this. So hopefully now that should go through. We also had a second message there from Albert Neumann asking if he can have a chance to play in the team. Well, this is the pre-season tournament, so I've got no problem with that at all. I'm going to sim these games so we can just get through them quickly and sell on some players, loan them out, that kind of thing, and get to the scouting reports at the end of the month more quickly. So that's the goalkeeper put in position. Now let's just sim this one and see how it goes. There you go, a 1-1 draw. Oh, we got a goal in the 89th minute. That could have been a lot worse. Could have lost 3 points there, picked up 1 point instead. Now after that match, we've got 3 more messages. Dennis Roth has a loan offer. He's one of our youth players. So again, we'll be doing the same thing, accepting that, then backing out of it, going into the squad hub, and scrolling down to him. There he is. Now we remove from the loan list, add to the transfer list, and that should now accept the offer. Now we had another offer in here as well, this one for Herbert Paul. Now this is one of the real players who I have not put up to transfer because he's one of our few fullbacks, so I don't want to get rid of him until we have a replacement, so we're going to reject that one. And then finally we have that message from Albert Neumann, thanks for the chance. Okay, now I said about putting the player on the transfer list should get accepted. Now unfortunately this does happen, sometimes they do reject the offer. Even though we tried this method, it doesn't always work. So what we have to do instead is not forget that we have put this player on the transfer list, so we need to remove him from the transfer list, add him back to the loan list, and hopefully now we'll get another offer in which this time does not get rejected. Right then, next game in the European International Cup. Let's sim this one again, so like I said, so we can get through it nice and quickly, and it's another 1-1 draw, so again we scored a late goal to bring it back from a potential defeat there. Right, straight after that game we got 2 messages. Wolf was loaned out, so in that case the little switch there onto the transfer list did work, and Marius Welsh got sold as well, so we got a bit more money in our budget now. Okay, another loan offer, this time for Rafael Zauna. He is one of our lowest rated players, but he's been growing well since he got promoted, so hopefully he can be a decent player in the future, so we'll accept that offer. Go back into the squad hub again, and then change him over to being a player put on the transfer list, if we can find him. There he is. Remove from loan list, add to transfer list. Now fingers crossed that one goes through. Right then, final game of the first round of the cup. Hopefully this time we can actually get a win. We've had 2 draws so far. Let's see, yep, 3-0. Pretty straightforward victory there, so hopefully that means we now get out of the group stage. That win's given us an extra £308,000, so even if you don't win these cups, they still get you a decent amount of money to add to your budget, so we'll put that towards more scouting later on. Right then, transfer messages coming in thick and fast. Zauna has been loaned out? Zauna has been loaned out to Grimsby Town, so that little trick worked in that case. And then we have an offer for Hiller, who is the he's one of our goalkeepers. I want to get rid of him so that we can give our youth goalkeepers more time, so I'm just going to straight up accept that offer. So we're now at the semi-final of the European International Cup against US Orléans. Now let's see how this one goes. Oh, it's okay, so we lost 2-1, so unfortunately that's us out of the cup, but we should get still a decent amount of money making it to the semi-final. Let's see if anything came through. Yep, £440,000, so those two rounds we got through basically gave us about £750,000, so a decent amount of money. Got us to test out some players as well, give us a bit of growth on those players. Now it says it's unfortunate you didn't reach the final, but blah 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 blah, ready to start the new season. So there you go, so it's a decent thing to try, gave us a bit of money as well. Okay, so we've managed to loan out Roth eventually to CD Antofagasta. Did the little trick and it worked this time. We have an offer for Adriano Grimaldi. Now this is our key striker basically. We don't have a replacement yet, so I'm not ready to sell him, so we'll reject that one. And then an offer for Alessandro Abrusha, who I have put up for sale. Real player I want to get rid of to make room for some of our youth players, and so yeah, we will accept that one. Right then, so we managed to sell Abrusha. Despite one of the offers falling through, we did get a second one, so he accepted that one. We also have a transfer offer for Quirin Moll, who is a real player. Don't want to sell him because he's one of my best players, so we shall reject that one. Right, this is the first game of the season proper now. We're done with the preseason friendlies, we're into the real thing. So we're going to play this game instead of simming it. I'll show you the kits that we've got first, because I actually quite like them. They're fairly simple, but quite nice as well. So we'll stick with the home kit, like that. Now, what I'm going to be doing is, it's on professional, because I basically need to get used to the team. This is the first game I'm going to be actually playing with them, and I want to make sure that I know how they work, know how they operate, before getting stuck in. So we'll stick with professional if need be in the next game. If it's too easy, we can up it to world class, and let's see how it goes. First chance of the game came our way. The ball played over the top towards Dietrich, our youth player, who ran straight through on goal, but he couldn't keep his head, blasted it over the top when he really should have done better. We had another chance to go ahead soon after, but again missed the target. Really need to be scoring those, but we did eventually break the deadlock. The ball coming to Moll, who beat 2 defenders and blasted it into the top of the net right on the stroke of hard time. So we went in 1-0 up, should really have been more. We had 5 shots, 2 of them on target. The other team had nothing at all. It was all us in that half, and we just couldn't get the goals that we needed. Second half though, that all changed. They gave the ball away straight from the kickoff. Karga beat his man, played it through to Bonlin, who blasted it into the top corner of the net. brilliant start to the half, 46 minutes, we're now 2-0 up. The only chance they had in the entire game was a pretty tame effort, still drew a save from our goalkeeper, had to make that to keep it at 2-0, and then we made them pay for missing that. Dietrich playing it through to Grimaldi, who hit it first time into the net to really give us a bit of comfort there, and we finally finished them off right at the death of the game, crossed the ball in with a powerful header that made it 4-0. Really was quite a straightforward game. I think I'm going to have to up the difficulty. We had 13 shots, 7 of them on target. They only had 1 shot in the entire game. We had the lion's share of the possession as well, so next time around I think I'll up it to world class, give us a bit more of a challenge, because 4-0 is a pretty straightforward result. As for ratings, our youth players did very well. Neumann got 8.2, Bauer in goal 7.3, Würzburger 7.7, Gruner 6.9, Dietrich 8.6, but the man of the match was Koppel with 9.6. A good overall performance from the team and a great result. Right then, after that match we have our 2 monthly scouting updates. First one is from Germany. Don't think we'll be taking that player, definitely not. This one doesn't look too great. I don't think 65 to 87 potential, probably mid 70s potential, so we'll discard him. Bjorn Hansen's 56 to 78 potential, don't need him either. And Eric Richter, 51 to 71, so that's a pretty disappointing report. Let's hope this one is a little bit better. There we go, first player. Looks like he's a fullback as well. Maximilian Pickler, 71 to 94 potential, definitely signing him up. Then we have Moritz Auer, 65 to 89, don't need him. Lucas Huber, 69 to 94, is a really good potential, but 39 to 53 overall, not particularly great. I think I'm going to leave him for another month, see what happens with him. Tobias Binder, 48 to 68, definitely don't want him. Joachim Lehner, 68 to 92 potential. Now he's 17, so he needs to be a pretty good overall rating. He's going to be in the probably early to mid 50s, I think. We'll leave him for another month just to see what happens. Lawrence Bloomberger, 61 to 85, don't need him. Just realised, just signed him. Great, okay, so we'll go and release him in a minute. We have Moritz Deisenberger, 51 to 71, don't need him either. So we'll keep these 2 scouted for the time being. Let's go and release that player that we accidentally signed, who we don't need. So which one was that? That would probably have been this guy here, Lawrence Bloomberger, 61 to 85. It's actually not too bad potential, I guess. If next month it goes up to a decent rating, we can keep him. So we'll keep him for now, I guess. Let's have a look at the others. Maximilian Pickler, right back, 49 overall, 71 to 94 potential. Then we have Raphael Würzburger, 78 to 86 potential, 57 rating at 15 years old is very good, 75 sprint speed and 75 strength as well, very nice to see. And then Bjorn Schulze, 74 to 80 potential, 52 overall. These 2 we already had in before, so these are 2 new players. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave it for this episode. We've played a game, we've gone through pre-season in the tournament, we've signed some youth players, we've had a look at the forfeits as well. So if you think of any challenges you want me to do, any conditions for those forfeits, such as scoring a certain amount of goals, whatever. Also, I've just noticed that Kieran Trippier has just gone to Barcelona. Okay, right, anyway, that's kind of put me off a bit, but whatever. So we're going to have to think about some of these goals we can do. So playing a player in a certain amount of games, winning the title, scoring a certain amount of goals, anything like that, and what forfeits should go with them. Once that's sorted, I'll post it on social media so you can have a look at that. So make sure you follow me on Twitter and Facebook. All the links will be below to stay up to date with all my latest career mode stuff. And any other suggestions or things you want me to do, make sure you leave a comment as well. I do read all those, try and improve what I do. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.